The Stranger in the Golden Arches. Keanu Reeves had no idea that grabbing a coffee and hash brown at McDonald's that Tuesday morning would unravel the single most bizarre and beautiful chapter of his life. He walked into the quiet roadside, McDonald's wearing a hoodie and sunglasses, hoping to stay unnoticed. Keanu had always loved the simplicity of McDonald's breakfasts, greasy, comforting, and predictably consistent like a friend who never changes. But that day, something was off. The moment he stepped in, the air felt electric. There were only 5 other customers inside. An elderly couple whispering over a shared Egg McMuffin, a construction worker gulping coffee like it was life support. And then, there was the little boy. He couldn't have been more than 5. Tousled hair, oversized, Avengers hoodie, and one hand clutching a stuffed bear that had clearly seen things like Apocalypse Now level trauma. The other hand was being gently tugged by a flustered young woman, his mother perhaps. Keanu smiled gently as he approached the counter. The cashier blinked twice, probably trying to process the fact that John Wick was about to order a sausage McMuffin. Can I get a number 3 coffee, 2 creams, no sugar? Sure thing. Is that, to stay? Yeah. Transaction complete. Keanu turned to find a quiet booth, but something stopped him. That kid. The little boy was staring at him. No, analyzing him. It wasn't the starstruck gaze Keanu had grown used to. It was something else. Something sharper. The boy wriggled away from his mother and tiptoed over, dragging the bear behind him. And then, he whispered. Keanu leaned down. Hey, buddy. What's up? The boy cupped his hands around his mouth and whispered something in Keanu's ear. That's when Keanu went pale, like ghost pale, full. I just saw a ghost who borrowed money from me in 1993, pale. He stood straight, eyes wide, every ounce of chill vaporizing from his face. Without a word, he pulled out his phone and dialed 911. Emergency services. What's your emergency? This is going to sound strange, Keanu said, his voice low and serious. But I need an officer at the McDonald's on Redwood Highway. A child just told me something. I think he's in danger. The operator paused. Sir, can you elaborate? Not. Over the phone. Please. It's urgent. The whisper had triggered something inside him. Not paranoia, not superstition, but a deep, bone-level certainty that something terrible was about to happen. The young mother noticed the commotion and rushed. Over. I'm so sorry, he's very talkative. He didn't bother you, did he? Keanu looked at her carefully. Ma'am, can I ask your name? Emily. Emily Hart. And your son? That's Leo. Keanu turned to Leo. Leo, can you say that again? What you told me? Leo hesitated, looked at his mom, then shook his head and clutched the bear tighter. The silence was suffocating. But just then, the front door opened, and 2 police officers stepped in. Fast response. Mr. Reeves? One said, clearly recognizing him. Keanu pointed to Leo. This child told me that there's someone in danger. Someone trapped. He said a name and an address. He turned to the officers, voice trembling. It's my sister's address. The room fell into stunned silence. Keanu stood in the middle of the McDonald's, every atom of cool composure drained from him. The officers now flanked Leo and his mother, asking gentle but firm questions. Emily was doing her best to stay calm, though she clearly had no clue what was going on. She kept glancing at Keanu as if silently asking, What the hell did my kid say to you? Leo stood by the booth, looking down at his bear, whose left eye was hanging on by a thread like it had seen things no toy ever should. The boy wasn't crying, wasn't frightened. He was waiting. Keanu knew that look. It was the look of someone who knew something, not guessed, not imagined, knew. Flashback. The whisper earlier, when Leo had whispered in Keanu's ear, it wasn't random babble. It wasn't, "You're my favorite actor," or "John Wick is cool." He said, word for word, "Your sister is in the basement. She's calling for help. There's blood on the door." Keanu had frozen. His sister. Luna Reeves. a fiercely private, soft-spoken woman who lived alone on a wooded property just outside the city. She hadn't spoken to him in 2 weeks, which wasn't unusual. Luna had always been a bit of a recluse. But now Keanu felt his stomach drop like it had discovered gravity for the first time. The police response back in the present. One of the officers had gone outside to make a call. The other knelt in front of Leo. "Buddy, can you tell me how you know about Keanu's sister?" Leo shrugged. "She told me." Emily gasped. "Leo, that's not funny." But Leo's face was stone serious. "She said her name, and she told me she was cold. She was under something, a floor, and it smelled like metal." Keanu's voice was low, intense. "Did she say anything else?" Leo nodded. "She was scared. She said the man left the door open today. She was hoping someone would hear." Emily looked like she might faint. Confirmation. Moments later, the officer returned from his call. "We had a car swing by your sister's place just in case," he told Keanu. "No response, her car's there, no signs of a break-in, but the back gate's wide open, and one of the officers thinks they heard something from the basement window." Keanu didn't wait. "I'm going now." One officer gave him a look. "Mr. Reeves, I understand, but you should—" Keanu was already heading to the door. "You don't understand, she's in there. He left the door open." Emily ran after him, holding Leo. "What does this mean? He's just a kid. How could he possibly know any of this?" Leo looked up at her and said softly, "The lady talks to me in my sleep. She says the bear helps me hear her." Emily looked like her soul just got turned upside down and shook for loose change. The drive Keanu drove like a man possessed. The cops followed, sirens on. The morning sun turned harsh and white in the rearview mirror. Keanu's mind raced. Could Leo be psychic? Was this some kind of sixth sense thing? A coincidence? A mental health crisis? Or something deeper? He remembered Luna's last message to him, a voicemail that ended abruptly. "Keanu, I wanted to ask you something. I've been hearing knocks from the basement at night, like tapping. Could just be the pipes, right? Anyway, End of message." He'd brushed it off, but now he felt like the universe had just slapped him across the face. At Luna's house, Keanu skidded into the gravel driveway. The officers behind him spilled out of their cruiser, guns holstered, but hands tense. Luna's house stood eerily, silent. No movement, no sound, just the wind, whispering through pine trees like they knew too much but couldn't speak. Keanu ran to the back. Sure enough, the gate was open. The basement window had been pried slightly. One officer called out. No response. Then, faintly, a tapping. Then a voice, weak, hoarse. "Hello?" It was her. "Luna!" Keanu shouted, pounding on the door. "It's me!" The cops kicked in the basement door. It took 3 tries, and there she was. Bound. Bruised. Alive. Barely. The aftermath. Luna was rushed to the hospital. Her wrists were badly torn from restraints. She'd been there for nearly 4 days, surviving on spilled water and sheer willpower. Whoever had taken her hadn't expected her to still be alive. She kept saying one thing. I kept calling. I thought no one could hear me. Keanu sat beside her, shaking. Someone did. A 5-year-old boy. In a McDonald's. A growing mystery. Later, as the detectives began unraveling how Luna was taken, another question began to rise. How did Leo know? He'd never met Luna. Never seen a photo of her. Yet somehow he'd known intimate details. The floor, the smell, the blood. When questioned again, Leo just smiled and said, "She found the bear. She talked through it." Emily sat across from the detectives, dazed. "That bear was a gift from my grandmother. She said it was special. Like it listens when no one else does." I thought she was just being poetic. It's a bear. The bear detectives examined the bear. No devices, no audio transmitters, nothing suspicious. Except, tucked deep inside a loose seam, they found a name. Luna Reeves, a faded label. Childlike handwriting. Keanu stared at it. This was hers, he whispered. This was her bear. From when she was 6. Emily looked stunned. But I got this from my grandma. She had it for years, said it came from a lost and found at a shelter. Keanu's brain was turning into spaghetti. Time, memory, coincidence. It all felt like a twisted Mobius strip. Theory, echoes of emotion. A psychologist who reviewed Leo's case offered a theory. There's a phenomenon some call empathic resonance. Extremely sensitive children sometimes respond to objects with heavy emotional imprints, especially those tied to trauma or distress. Combine that with early development of extrasensory awareness, and, well, you get kids like Leo. Keanu, ever the realist turned wonderer, just nodded. He heard her because no one else could. Opening scene. The House of Echoes. Keanu sat beside Luna's hospital bed, a book in his lap but unread. Machines beeped softly. The window offered a view of the setting sun, gold bleeding into violet, a painting in slow motion. Luna was stable, but still exhausted, her voice raspy when she finally spoke. I dreamed I was underwater, she said. Every time I screamed, bubbles just floated up. I didn't think anyone would hear. Keanu gave a soft chuckle. One of those broken ones you use when you're trying to hold yourself together with spit and tape. But someone did, a kid named Leo. She blinked. Who? Keanu leaned in. He's 5, he has something. A gift maybe. A curse, I don't know, but he heard you, in his dreams, through a stuffed bear. Luna stiffened. A bear? She whispered. Keanu nodded. Luna's eyes suddenly locked with his. Her voice dropped to a whisper, hoarse and trembling. Did it have one brown button and one plastic green eye? Keanu froze. Yes. Luna closed her eyes and whispered, Oh my God. He found Mr. Whispers. The origin of Mr. Whispers. Luna's childhood was rough, much rougher than most knew, even Keanu. Their parents were emotionally absent, frequently away, and steeped in secrets neither child could ever quite decode. But Mr. Whispers had always been there. A bear stitched from scratch by a woman Luna barely remembered. A kind old neighbor, with trembling hands and eyes that always seemed to know more than they. Let on. She told me Mr. Whispers would protect me, Luna recalled. But she also said something weird, that he listens to what others won't. I thought it meant listening to me cry, but maybe it was more than that. A strange discovery. Meanwhile, back at Emily's home, Leo was napping with Mr. Whispers, nestled beside him. Emily was still shaken, her worldview smashed to pieces by recent events. Her house felt different now, heavier like it knew things. She pulled out a shoebox from the closet, one her grandmother had left her before passing. She hadn't opened it in years. Inside, old photos, a locket, a faded letter, the letter in. Looping cursive began. If you're reading this, Em, then the bear has found its new listener. It always does. Emily felt a chill. She read on. This bear isn't just fabric and thread. It carries echoes, memories from the broken, the frightened, the lost. When held by someone who's open enough, sensitive enough, they hear, Wayne. Last line. You won't believe it until it happens, but if it ever does, trust the bear. It only speaks when it must. Meanwhile, Leo's dreamin'. Leo's dream, he was in a hallway that went on forever. Dim lights, peeling wallpaper, footsteps echoing from nowhere, then a door, wooden, old, with the words, Do not open carved into the top. Mr. Whispers sat beside it. Leo turned to him. Is she behind there? The bear didn't move, but Leo felt the answer. Not her, someone else, someone who puts people behind doors. Leo woke up screaming. Back to the investigation, the police were still baffled. Luna had no enemies, no known threats. The man who took her had left no fingerprints, no DNA, no clear motive. But something odd came up. One of the Officers, a grizzled detective named Serena Vega, had gone down the rabbit hole of missing person reports. What she found was a pattern. 3 women, all found alive after being presumed missing. All claimed they felt someone hear them before being discovered. All within the last 10 years. Each one had some connection, however loose, to a shelter in Oregon called Eldon House, where Emily's grandmother had once volunteered. The Eldon House connection. Keanu, Detective Vega, and Emily met at Eldon House the next morning. It had long since shut down. Boarded windows, graffiti, a playground slowly being reclaimed by weeds. An elderly man with a hunched back met them at the gate. His name was Arthur Wren, the last caretaker. "Ah," he said when Keanu introduced. "Leo, you brought the listener." Emily blinked. "Excuse me?" Arthur nodded. "It's what we used to call the children who connected with the bear. They'd sleep with it and wake up with stories about things they'd never seen." He guided them inside. "I didn't believe in it, not really, but some things defy belief. The bear's been here a long time. It moves from place to place, finds its way to those who need it, or those who need to be heard." They entered an old office. On the wall, a framed drawing, crude. Child's hand, a bear, with mismatched eyes. Underneath, in red crayon, "Mr. Whispers hears when you cry at night." A new warning that night. Leo had another dream, a different door. This time the bear was gone. In its place, a shadow. Tall, thin, moving like smoke. The door creaked open. Inside he saw photos on the wall. Keanu, Luna, Emily, himself. One photo had a red X across it. The photo of Arthur Wren. Leo woke up and immediately said to his mom, "Mr. Arthur isn't what he says." Unraveling the lie, Detective Vega ran a background check on Arthur Wren. There was no Arthur Wren listed at Eldon House in any legal capacity. He had no social security record before 1983. No tax filings. Nothing. His name only began to appear after the first missing woman was found 10 years ago. She called Keanu. "You need to leave Eldon House now." But Keanu was already there. Arthur had invited him back, said there were more records, more history. And now the door to the basement had just shut behind him. Cliffhanger ending. Part 3 in. The darkness of the basement. Keanu's phone lost signal. The air smelled like dust and rusted metal. He reached out, heart pounding, and then a faint sound, a whisper. "Why do you keep listening?" In not Leo, not Luna, something older, something beneath. Footsteps. Then, silence. The bear upstairs in Leo's arms shivered slightly in the boy's sleep, and for the first time, it whispered back. YouTube video transcript. Part 3. The bear remembers. Slow, mysterious piano music plays. Narrator. Some toys are forgotten, some are broken, but one bear listens. In this chapter of our story, we uncover a mystery that goes back generations. A bear that hears what others ignore. A child who becomes the bridge between the voiceless and the saved. Montage of Luna describing the bear, the letter from Emily's grandmother, the framed child's drawing. Narrator. What started as a whisper in a McDonald's is now a voice echoing through time, a voice that warns, protects, and reveals. But now, the bear is warning again. Footage of Keanu descending into a dark basement. Door closes. Screen goes black. Narrator. Keanu thought the danger was over. He was wrong. Words appear on screen. The whisper. Part 4 coming soon. Narrator. Softly. When the bear speaks next, someone won't survive. The man who wasn't there previously, Keanu Reeves, led by cryptic dreams and whispers, from a seemingly enchanted teddy bear, found himself locked in the basement of a long-abandoned children's shelter. Upstairs, 5-year-old Leo clutched Mr. Whispers, the bear who hears what others ignore. But something was shifting. The bear had whispered back. And what it said would change everything. Basement of shadows. The door slammed with a mechanical click, sealing Keanu in a darkness that felt less like the absence of light and more like the presence of something else. His phone was dead. He hadn't even realized it had shut off. Battery was at 70% before. He took a few cautious steps forward. "Arthur?" Keanu called out, though he already knew Arthur wasn't going to answer. From the shadows, a voice replied. Not Arthur's. "Why do you keep listening?" Keanu stopped cold. "Who said that?" Silence. Then the voice again, almost playful now. "You're not supposed to hear yet. You're not one of the listeners." Then footsteps, not walking, circling. He wasn't alone. Upstairs, the bear's warning, Leo sat bolt upright, eyes wide open, not sleepwalking, not dreaming, just present in a way most kids never are. He looked down at Mr. Whispers. Then whispered, "He's not Arthur, he's wearing someone." Emily, now used to her son dropping nightmare-inducing one-liners, tried to stay calm. "Who is he really?" Leo looked at her and said, "He's the one who feeds the bear." Let's talk about Arthur. Detective Serena Vega was now obsessed. Her research into Arthur Wren had turned up exactly 0 historical records prior to 1983. But a name attached to him, found in scribbled margins of one of Eldon House's old ledgers, sent a shiver down her spine. Custos audientis, Latin, the keeper of the listener. This wasn't a name, it was a title. She dug deeper, and what she found made her skin crawl. References in 1950s psychiatric journals. Unpublished. Interviews. Even a banned book called The Echo Game, long since burned out of circulation. All of them hinted at the same legend, that across generations there were children who could hear what others couldn't, and there were men who found them, used them, fed them information, and sometimes used the bear to contain the echoes of the dead. Back in the basement, Keanu finally found a light switch. It didn't work, but his eyes were adjusting, and the faint blue light from a dusty basement window revealed something strange. Old toys, stacked, preserved, catalogued. Dolls, wooden trains, marbles, little shoes, each one labeled with a tag and date, some as far back as 1947, and in the center, an altar, made of child-sized furniture. On it sat a faded photo, a boy holding Mr. Whispers, his eyes scratched out. Behind it, a wall of Polaroids, at least 30 children, each with that same look, like they knew things they shouldn't. And then, Keanu heard the voice again. She shouldn't have remembered the bear, that wasn't supposed to happen. Keanu turned slowly. There stood Arthur, but something was off. His face twitched at unnatural angles. His eyes were too still. He smiled without warmth. The bear remembers too much. That's the problem. Revelation. The bear as a prison Arthur, if that was even his name anymore, walked around the room as if giving a tour to a museum no one should see. The bear is old, older than me, older than you. People think it protects children, that's sweet. He reached for a drawer and pulled out an old tape recorder. But what if it wasn't made to protect them? He hit play. Child's voice on tape. I hear her crying in the walls. She says her name is Emily, but she's not my mom. Second voice, adult male, uncertain. Do you think these are actual voices or imaginative projections? Child's voice again. She says the bear is getting full. She says someone has to listen or she'll go bad. Arthur stopped the tape, smiled. You see, the bear is not a walkie-talkie, it's a container, a collector. It holds all the pain children couldn't speak, until it leaks. Keanu felt cold all over. You're saying Leo is just, what, a host? Arthur nodded. The latest. They always come when the bear gets full. They hear what's inside. They scream, they warn, they listen. Then his smile faded. But sometime they don't stop listening. And then they disappear. Flashback. Leo's first dream, Leo's first whisper, long before the McDonald's incident, had been about a girl named Nora. a name he didn't know. His mom thought it was a made-up friend, but Nora had gone missing in 1986. Last seen? Eldon House. Leo had been hearing echoes even back then. Mr. Whispers had found him early. The rescue outside, Serena Vega, had arrived. When no one answered, the door, she kicked it open. She found Emily and Leo in the living room, Mr. Whispers gripped tightly in Leo's hands. I know where he is, Leo said quietly. Basement. But the Knot Man's there too. Serena pulled her gun. Stay here. She descended the creaking stairs, heart pounding, and then, freeze, she shouted. Arthur turned. His face twitched. For a split second it looked wrong, like something was wearing him. Then he whispered something to Keanu, too low to hear, and vanished. What they found behind a false wall in the basement was a crawl space filled with documents, cassettes, bones, small ones. It was a crypt of forgotten voices, and in the middle, another bear, identical to Mr. Whispers, but burned, charred, as if someone had tried to kill it. Serena reached for it and Leo's voice came from upstairs, impossibly loud. Don't touch it. She stopped, and suddenly the bear began to smoke. Final scene. The bear speaks. That night, Leo sat up in bed. Mr. Whispers rested on his lap. He whispered, Did you get him? The bear didn't respond. Then the lights flickered, and in the deepest part of Leo's mind a voice whispered, not a child's, not an adult's, something older. There is no him. There is only us. Leo blinked. They built us to remember. But remembering isn't the same as saving. The next morning, Leo woke up. His voice was gone. He could hear everyone, but he could no longer speak. The child who never was. Opening scene. Leo's silence. The world felt quieter since Leo stopped speaking. Emily watched her son scribble in his sketchbook with intense focus. Mr. Whispers sitting beside him like a weird little guardian angel, or demon, depending on your lens. His latest drawing showed a dark figure, faceless, with children coming out of its chest. Above the figure he'd written in red crayon, He doesn't take children, he returns them. Emily felt a chill. She didn't ask what it meant. She was too afraid of the answer. Keanu. Dreams. That aren't dreams. Keanu was losing sleep. Ever since Arthur vanished, his dreams had become less like dreams and more like memory leaks from another life. In one, he stood in a field with dozens of children, each holding a bear, each staring at him. Silent. One child stepped forward, identical to Leo. He opened his mouth, but the sound was wrong. Not a voice. A metallic click. A reel-to-reel tape machine whirring. And then, you were the first listener. Why did you forget? Keanu woke up in a cold sweat. The worst part? He remembered something. A basement. A bear with no face. And someone, whispering over and over, forget, forget, forget. Uncovering the past, Detective Serena Vega wasn't sleeping either. She was in the archives of a shuttered psychiatric facility called Hollow Pines, buried in government bureaucracy and dust thick enough to fossilize. She found what she was looking for, a patient file with the initials KRA boy, age 7, taken in, after reportedly wandering into traffic muttering about a talking bear and the children under the house. The file was redacted, but 2 details remained. Patient showed signs of acute trauma. Language pattern identified as cross-temporal echo, not a term used in modern psychology. Vega snapped a photo and texted Keanu. Did your parents ever tell you you were institutionalized as a child? His reply came quickly. No, but I think I just remembered. Leo's drawings. Get weirder, Leo had drawn another picture. This one wasn't on regular paper. He'd found an old book page, torn from one of Emily's thrift store novels. He'd used charcoal and spit to sketch something ancient. A circle of children surrounding a well. In the well, the bear. On the page he'd written, "This is where they buried the first voice." When Emily asked who they were, Leo wrote, "The listeners who went deaf." The Church of the Silent Ear Detective Vega found an unmarked kill box linked to Arthur Wren. Inside, only one item, a crumbling brochure. Title: The Church of the Silent Ear. Subhead: We do not speak, we do not scream, we only listen. No address, no contact, but one image. A stylized version of Mr. Whispers, faceless, hands open. Below it: Through the listener, we return what the world has thrown away. She took it to Keanu. "I think this is bigger than we thought," she said. Keanu nodded. "It's a cult." Flashback: The Forgotten Listener. That night, Mr. Whispers fell from Leo's bed. When Emily picked it up, she noticed something odd. The stitching on the back, sloppy and recent, hid something. Inside, she found a taped cassette. Labeled, Project, Listener 01, KR. She didn't have a tape deck, but Serena did. They played it. Recording starts. Distorted child voice. "I don't want to hear anymore, please. He's not real. He's wearing faces." Adult voice. "You're the first, Keanu. You were made for this. The bear chose you." Silence when child voice again. "But what if it's not the bear? What if it's the thing inside it?" Meanwhile, a new player, young girl, Amira, appeared at a foster center 2 towns over. No ID, no record of her arrival. Just walked out of the woods and into the lobby. She carried nothing but a burned teddy bear missing both eyes. When the nurse asked her name, she replied, "I'm not me yet," and then, "But I heard Leo. I came to help him." The dream. Convergence that night, Leo slept with Mr. Whispers. In his dream, he stood in a room lined with mirrors. Each mirror reflected not his face, but different children from different eras, some wearing rags, others in neon 80s clothes. One, holding a Game Boy. One with a ration book. Each whispered in turn, "Listener, listener, listener, you are the last." Until the bear begins again. Then a door opened in the reflection. On the other side, Keanu as a child, crying, holding a bear, whispering, "Help me remember." Leo reached out, and, when he did, reality blurs. Keanu fell to the floor in the middle of a grocery store, collapsed, seizing. Witnesses say he was whispering the same phrase over and over. "I never stopped listening. I never stopped listening. I never..." Then silence. Hospital, Keanu and Leo. When Keanu awoke in the hospital, Leo was beside him, hand in his. Leo held up a notepad. "Do you remember now?" Keanu nodded slowly. "Yeah, I remember. Everything." Then he looked at Mr. Whispers and whispered, "It was never just a bear. It was a door, and someone opened it a long time ago. Now it won't close." The bear's voice. Final scene. That night, Serena Vega played the last few seconds of the cassette. It had been too damaged before. Now, after cleaning, the final words came through. A third voice. Not the child, not the adult researcher. Something else. If the listener does not return the echoes, they multiply. If the bear is destroyed, they escape. The only safe way is containment, then static, then one final whisper. Leo is not the last. He is the bridge. YouTube video transcript. Part 5. The Child Who Never Was. Melancholic piano fades in over. Ticking clocks and faint whispering. Narrator, haunted tone. We believe the bear saved children. We were wrong. In Part 5, a new truth emerges. Leo wasn't the first. Keanu wasn't innocent. And the bear was never just a listener. Montage of dreams, tapes, cult brochures. Narrator. When you open the door to forgotten voices, they don't whisper thank you. They ask, "Why did you forget us?" Black screen, white text. The Whisper. Part 6, coming soon. Narrator, quietly. The bear remembers. Now, it wants to be remembered. First room with no echo opening scene. Amira's eyes. Amira stood in front of the mirror at the foster center studying her reflection, not with the innocent curiosity of a child, but with the bone-deep weariness of someone who had worn other faces before. Her eyes were too old, too knowing. She turned to the social worker, smiled with perfect calm, and said, "I need to find Leo before the bear starts to lie." Meanwhile, hospital room 314 Keanu was sitting upright now, pale but lucid. Leo hadn't left his side. Neither had Mr. Whispers. Emily had taken a break to shower. Serena Vega was running down cult leads, and the world outside pretended not to notice that two people in this room had spoken with voices that weren't theirs. Keanu looked at Leo. "How long have you been hearing me?" Leo scribbled a reply. "Since I was 3. You hum in your sleep." Keanu chuckled, despite the darkness. "I don't even hum when I'm awake." Leo's next note. "Not your mouth. Your memories." Keanu stared at the child, this eerie, gentle prophet, and whispered, "Then you already know, don't you?" Leo nodded slowly and wrote, "I know who made the bear." Flashback. The Hollow Pines files. Serena Vega stood inside. The remains of Hollow Pines, an old psychiatric facility that had been shuttered for decades. Most files were ruined. But deep in the crawl space beneath what used to be the East Wing, she found a weatherproof box chained to a beam. Inside, microfilm, rusted surgical tools. A child's drawing, a man stitched together from pieces, with the label, Father Echo, and a folder titled, Project, Origin, Vessel A, Subject, KR001 Her Breath Caught, TKR, Keanu Reeves. The hypnosis session back in the hospital. A psychiatrist was brought in at Keanu's request, Dr. Lorette Fang, a specialist in repressed trauma and hypnotic regression. Keanu lay back on the bed. The room was dim. Leo sat quietly nearby, drawing. Dr. Fang's voice was gentle. "Let's go back to the place the dreams began." And just like that, the floodgates opened. Regression scene. The room with no echo. Keanu, age 7, stood in a stark white room. There were no shadows, no sound. He wore headphones, not plugged into anything. A tape machine played static, in the corner. Every few minutes, a woman in a white coat would whisper, "Do you hear it now?" And every time he would reply, "I hear the screaming, but it's not mine." Then they gave him the bear, but not Mr. Whispers. A proto-bear, faceless, stitched like a scarecrow and vibrating ever so slightly. The woman leaned in again. "Now, what do the dead say?" And Keanu's young voice, trembling, replied, "They want to come back. They say they remember falling." Dr. Fang's voice guided him. "Do you know where this happened, Keanu?" He whispered. "The room with no echo. Hollow Pines, sublevel 3. Then his body arched. He gasped and shouted, "They put something inside me." Leo's new drawing as Keanu collapsed. Leo looked down at his sketch. It was a map, Hollow Pines, sublevel 3. In the center, a large circle with a symbol he hadn't drawn before. Emily asked, "What's that?" Leo's note read, "It's not a room, it's a cage." Amira's revelation. Amira had tracked them down. She stood in the hospital hallway, holding her scorched bear like a grenade she couldn't throw. Serena approached her cautiously. "Who are you, Amira?" The girl replied flatly, "I was never born. I was remembered. I am what happens when the bear forgets to forget." Serena blinked. "You were created?" Amira nodded. "I came from the second bear, the one that burned." Flashback. The second bear, Amira explained. The second bear, charred, blind, stitched with barbed thread, wasn't just a copy. It was made from the fragments of forgotten listeners. The ones who didn't survive. It didn't contain echoes, it compiled them. Where Mr. Whispers listens to warn, the second bear listens to build. The hidden room later that night, Serena returned to Hollow Pines with Keanu and Leo, Amira, following silently behind. They found the access tunnel beneath the east wing, broke the lock, descended, and there it was, a rusted steel door. On it, scratched in with a child's fingernail, "Echoes are not dead, they are just waiting." The lock was old, but not strong. Keanu placed his hand on the door. It vibrated, and behind it something whispered in 100 voices, "Listener, listener, listener, let us out." The final whisper, cliffhanger. Leo stepped forward. So did Amira. Each one placed a hand on the bear they carried. The vibrations stopped. For a second. And then, Mr. Whispers spoke aloud, for the first time in over 40 years. The first. "Listener is alive. He built the cage, and now he's coming back." YouTube video transcript, Part 6. The room with no echo. Tense heartbeat sound fades into low ambient wind and tape hiss. Narrator, chilling, whisper-like voice. Some rooms are built to keep people out. But this one was built to keep something in. In Part 6, Keanu returns to a forgotten trauma, only to discover he was never just a survivor. He was a key, and now the echoes want out. Quick flashes, Amira whispering, Keanu under hypnosis, the steel door vibrating, Leo's map. Narrator. One listener was lost, but another is coming back. Black screen, white glitch text. The Whisper, Part 7, the final whisper. Coming. Soon. Narrator, quietly. The bear has always remembered, now it's your turn. Opening scene. A door that breathes. The steel door at Hollow Pines groaned. It didn't open. It exhaled. Not wind, not gas. Something older. Keanu stepped back as the air changed. Charged, wet, electric like before a thunderstorm. Leo gripped. Mr. Whispers, and for the first time in days he spoke aloud. A whisper. He's waking up. Behind them, Amira stepped forward. "I'm not scared," she said, "but the bear is." The first listener, his name was never recorded. Not legally. Not in any official file Serena Vega could find. But the cult called him Veritas Auris, the true ear, the first listener, the one who built the cage. Not to trap evil, but to store it. They said he could hear the thoughts of the dead. They said he never slept. And one day, he stopped talking. The Church of the Silent Ear believed he transcended language, that he became an echo. They also believed he didn't die. Keanu's final memory. With the help of Dr. Lorette Fang, Keanu went under one last time, into the last sealed memory, and what he saw was not a lab, not a facility, but a church, a candlelit chapel in an underground bunker. Children in pews, each with a bear in their lap. Adults chanting, "Listen, listen, never speak." And at the altar, a man with no face, not deformed, erased. As if reality itself couldn't hold his identity anymore. The man turned to child Keanu and said, "You remember me now." And then, reality broke. The breach, the door at Hollow Pines began to split. Not physically, but temporally. It wavered, like heat on asphalt. Inside, voices. Too many to count. Some screamed, some wept, some laughed like children playing in fire. Leo clutched his chest. So did Amira. They were shaking. Keanu dropped to his knees, and then he heard a voice that didn't belong. His mother's. "You weren't born, Keanu. You were spoken into being." Origin of the Bear, 1943. The true origin of Mr. Whispers was never corporate, never innocent. In 1943, a fringe psychic research unit, Project Echogate, discovered that certain fabrics, when exposed to high emotional trauma, retained psychic impressions. A war orphan, mute, near feral, was given a handmade bear after losing his family in the Blitz. The bear began to vibrate. The child began to speak, but not in his voice. He spoke the names of other dead children. their deaths, their final moments. And so the government took the bear, replicated it, and began testing. Mr. Whispers wasn't built to comfort. He was built to catalog souls. Full circle, Leo and Amira. Leo looked at Amira. Amira looked back. Both nodded. "We're ready," she said. "Ready for what?" Serena asked. "To be the locks, not the keys." They stepped toward the door. The floor began to quake, not from impact, from the weight of too many memories wanting out. Mr. Whispers speaks. One last time, the bear turned its head, spoke, in 100 voices. "We are the echo. We are the pain that was ignored. We are the children no one looked for. We are the whispers in the walls." Leo said, "We know. We are the hunger for sound, the silence that turns to teeth." Amira replied, "We know. Then you may pass." The bear fell silent forever. The door opens. When the door opened, there was no light, just absence, and within it, the first listener. Not a man, not any more. A shape made of sound, of whispers, cries, laughter, all folded into a humanoid form, wearing a tattered lab coat stitched with childlike embroidery. "Dr. Ellis." He turned to Keanu. "Child," he said, his voice a chorus. "You were my first failure." Keanu, through clenched teeth. "You made me listen." "No," the shape replied. "You chose to keep listening. That's why you're still alive. The choice." The echo offered them a bargain. "The world is too loud, but the forgotten demand to be heard. Give us a voice, we will become truth. Keep us caged, we will leak, infect, and rot your children until the world forgets how to scream." Amira asked one question. "Is there another way?" And Leo finally softly said, "Yes, if one of us stays, if one becomes the last listener." The sacrifice Keanu offered himself. "I started this." But the bear no longer answered. Leo stepped forward. "No, I was born for this." He turned to Amira. "You were the memory. I was the echo. One of us has to go back inside." Amira hugged him, trembling. "I'll remember you." Leo smiled. "That's all I've ever wanted." He stepped into the echo and vanished. The door seals it closed silently. No explosion, no scream, just a whisper. "Thank you." And then, nothing. Mr. Whispers turned to ash. Amira fell to her knees. Keanu wept. 1 year later, Keanu opened the Listener Foundation, a center for emotionally sensitive and psychically receptive children. Amira now lived with Emily. She rarely spoke. But every night she sat at the window, and once, just once, she swore she heard Leo's voice on the wind. Still listening.